Hi everyone, this is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we're going to talk about seeding lawns today. So this could be a new lawn, brand new lawn, clean slate. This could be a lawn that's got a lot of problems in it, weed-wise, and maybe some other grasses and just troublesome areas. But it kind of all works the same. There's just a few steps that are a little bit different, but I'm going to go over that with you today, okay? So first, to start out, and it's always best to know your site. We always talk about picking the proper plant for the proper place, and it's the same thing with lawn care. So make sure that you know your site, and you get familiar with your site by measuring the area. Of course, we want to help you out, but you really need to know how much lawn area you're covering to seed your lawn, and those measurements will help you in the long run as far as like fertilizer amounts and soil amendments and all those types of things. So definitely measure the lawn area first. Another thing that you should really consider, of course, is light exposure. So is your lawn out in full sun, or is it, sun and shade, a mixture, or is it in deep shade? So those are always really good things to consider as well, because that's going to affect your grass seed choice, as soon as you get to that point. The other thing that you want to consider in your lawn is low-lying areas, rough spots where you have drainage issues, and you can kind of see how the water moves through the lawn. If you do have certain low areas and so forth, it's a good time to consider building those areas up, filling those low spots in, so you can work much easier, as far as easier as far as, taking care of your new lawn here. And then the other thing is really key is a soil pH test. If you haven't gone out to your lawn, definitely consider getting a pH meter or doing a small in-home test where what you're going to find out is where your pH is will dictate how well your grass seed is going to germinate and develop for you. So sometimes we'll find that in Northeast Ohio, it's typically fairly acidic, our lawn soils are, and our pH test did show that we were kind of on the lower end of where grass wants to be. So anywhere between 6.2 and about 7, neutral, is where you want your soil pH to be, okay? So definitely do that test, because that in the long run will really help your grass grow. Okay, now we're going to talk about prepping soil. So this part has several pieces in it, and so it's very, very important. Any type of plant material that you grow, including lawns, always needs good soil preparation, okay? So to start out in the lawn, what we're looking at is we're looking to remove weeds, anything that's going to be competition for that lawn, that new lawn that's germinating. So removing weeds could be, you could use a couple of different things, and we'll show you different pictures of things that you can use. If it's a new lawn area and it's just a clean slate, just soil, you don't have to worry about removing the weeds, hopefully, so you can start and you can basically just prep that soil and get it ready to go. If you are starting with a lawn area that just has a few weeds, let's say maybe 25% of it is weeds, then you can use what we call a lawn-safe herbicide, like Weed Beater Ultra. We talk about that all the time. It covers a wide assortment of weeds, perennial and annual weeds. So you could apply Weed Beater Ultra, and it would take care of most of those weeds out in the lawn. If you have a grassy weed problem, so let's say you found Bermuda grass or nimblewill or some of those really hard to kill weeds like crabgrass, you've got a huge crabgrass buildup, then there's a product called Tenacity that works very well. Again, it's lawn safe, so your existing lawn's going to stay, but it will take care of some of those problematic grasses that we can find in our lawns sometimes that are very, very hard to kill. So Tenacity is something that you could use to do that. The other thing is, if you just need to kill a spot, it is just awful. The weeds are 75% and it's just taking over. Then you can always use a general herbicide, something like Cleanup, Burnout, all of those work. But again, you would spray that area, completely cover the troublesome weedy spot, and then go ahead and let that kind of stay there for about 5 to 7 days. You'll see results, and then you can typically go back in, prep the soil, and go ahead and overseed. So again, taking care of the weed control is definitely something that you want to consider. It just depends on how many weed issues you have in the area. Okay, so this next spot is actually working on the soil. So what we would do is, if you have just a blank slate and it's all soil, you're gonna basically amend that soil. So you're gonna add topsoil or sweet peat just to try to get those low areas up and try to give a nice seeding plane for that new grass seed to start, okay? If you need to add lime because you're too acidic, absolutely, it's a great time to add lime. If you need to add sulfur because your soil pH is too basic, it's a good time to do that too. You're gonna kind of rough grade or work that into the soil. We used to rototill, but rototilling is very lightly is recommended, not a deep rototilling, so you could use a rototiller. If you're overseeding the lawn and you have sprayed like the Weed Beater Ultra and you've taken care of the weeds, or you have applied tenacity and you've taken care of the weeds and the lawn, now you're ready to go and overseed. So what we normally recommend is that you cut the lawn pretty low, as low as you can get the deck on your lawnmower. So cutting the lawn low is really going to kind of activate the base, the crowns of that lawn, and that's going to be helpful, but it's also going to open up some of those areas where the seed can go into. So that's pretty key too. Same thing, after that you're gonna amend. You can add your soils, rough grade, add your lime if you want to. Definitely dethatch. We talk about if you have a 1/2 inch of thatch or more, you have that thatch layer built up in the lawn, it is really good to dethatch. So you wanna either use a dethatching rake, or you can rent a dethatcher at any big box store, and it runs just like a lawnmower. So you're gonna run it north, south, east, west on your lawn. Try to get the tines to move into the lawn, again, about 1/2 inch or more, 3/4 of an inch, so it's picking up that thatch and removing that. You can clean up, obviously, those areas and all the thatch that comes out, and then, of course, you can add a little bit more soil. Make sure that you're kind of leveling out those low areas as well. Then you're gonna just rough grade, and that's gonna be the perfect seed bed for your new seed as you apply it. So that's where we're getting to this third step, which is really your grass seed selection and application, okay? So again, grass seed, the type you choose really depends on the light conditions that you have in the area, okay? Most of your grass seed mixtures will be labeled as sunny mix or sun and shade mix or shade mix as far as that goes. So it helps you identify which seed will work best in that area, okay? So again, that goes way back to that first step. You got to know your site. So when you do select your grass seed, just make sure that you're looking at the mixture in the back. Make sure it has very low weed percentage on the back label, and that it's going to work for that area. There's so many different types out there. We're here to help you with selection of grass seed as well, to make the best selection for your lawn. The next thing that you need to know about grass seed application is if it's an absolute new lawn, again, blank slate where you've amended the soil and it's pretty prepped and ready to go, is that your grass seed, about 5 pounds, covers 1,000 square feet. So that goes back to that calculation. Make sure you know the area that you're working with so you get the right amount of grass seed to put out on that area, okay? So it's 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. If you're overseeding, you don't need as much. So now we're talking about 1 to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So just keep that in mind. Now, grass seed can be spread by a spreader. It could be a hand spreader or a rolling spreader. It could also be spread by hand. So however you prefer to do it is fine, not a problem, okay? And then basically at the end, They used to roll grass seed with big heavy rollers. We don't really do that anymore because it compacts the soil. So just light raking, you can just do a very light raking, make sure that seed is bedded in that soil that you prepared. And after that, go ahead and apply a starter fertilizer, okay? So Scott's has a wonderful starter fertilizer. In the fall, you can also apply a winterizer type turf food if you want to too. That's okay, as long as there's no weed control in it. So watch out for those weed and feeds. You don't want to do that on a newly seeded lawn, okay? Be aware of that. But your step one for seed starting, you could use, because that is safe to use on newly seeded lawns. So you have a few options as far as fertilizer. Go ahead and put that down throughout the area, the newly seeded area, and you'll be ready to go. Now, some people do cover the grass seed. So you could use straw, you could use sweet peat, you could use topsoil. A light covering, whatever you prefer to use, is fine, okay? And again, that raking helps kind of bed it down. So that helps too, because you've put new soil down when you prepared the soil. Okay, so last step again is watering. Watering is pretty key here, and so you want to make sure that your seeded area stays moist. We don't want runoff, we don't want flooding, we just want it to stay moist, okay? So at first, it might be a daily thing where you have to go out, run the sprinkler, you notice that the soil looks a little dry, what have you. Just make sure that that area stays moist. After you start to see germination, so when that seed pops and you start to see the new grass blades come out, you're really looking at watering like you do most lawns or plant material. It's 1 inch of water per week, usually one time, deep, thorough watering. So watch for the rainfall, check your rain gauge. If you're getting 1 inch of rainfall that week, you're fine. You don't even have to, bring the sprinkler out and irrigate. Okay, so after watering, we're basically set to go. So here's just the rundown of new lawns and overseeding, okay? So number one, study your site. Remember, you want to know the light conditions, you want to know the drainage, you want to know your pH in that area and your measurements, of course, so you know the amount of materials that you need to cover that area. Number two is soil prep. Again, try to prep your soil as best you can. We talked about overseeding. You can mow low, you can dethatch, clean up, rough grade the area with topsoil or sweet peat or what have you. And then you can literally just do the lime, do the seed, do the starter fertilizer, water it, and you're ready to go. New lawns, spend a little bit more time, really making sure that you do a good soil prep. Again, same thing, you can put the lime, the seed, the starter fertilizer on. Cover if you want to. If you have better success with that, that's fine. So straw, sweet peat, topsoil, all works. And then go ahead and water and you're ready to go. Okay, so again, good time to do your lawns in the fall. Beginning of September, all through the month of September is fine. Just to the beginning of October, because it usually starts to get cooler then. You might have lower rate of germination, but it's okay. And then April, beginning of April, throughout April, great time to work on your lawn. Enjoy.